G'day, this is Harney from Digital Logic with you again for another episode of Under the Macro. Today we're going to have a look at the DJI Ronin-M. Now in the past we have reviewed the original Ronin, which was a much larger unit taking on greater payloads, and from the initial rollout of those Ronins there was always a need or demand for a smaller unit that could cater for the wedding guys, the documentary people, and the guys that sort of are more agile in their filming approach. And so DJI have responded with a new unit called the M. We believe it refers to a Mini, and here it is here. And basically everything is just a lot lighter, smaller, taking on a smaller payload. But at the same time, they've also gone through with their learnings or prior learnings in the manufacture and delivery of the Ronin to refine this unit. And when we go through it, you will see a lot of additional improvements, allowing you to work quicker, balance quicker, and just a much better unit all round. So one of the first things we'll look at is just the handle, the new handle design. Being a lighter unit, they've been able to obviously refine this handle piece, and you can see how they've tried to shred every little bit of extra weight off that, but still remain with the strength, the same strength. You'll find the handle design can easily be stripped apart in seconds. Just loosen this up and there's one half of the handle gone. You can operate it this way if that suits your particular shot that you're doing, or you can go further and take the other side off and shoot this way. So you can just see how adaptable, how quick and easy it is to do that, and literally seconds to re-establish the handle piece. So if I put the other one back on for now. So again, the same high quality carbon fiber, the same type of handles on the Ronin where you can remove part of the handle if you don't need it, or change the angle or position of it. All that is the same. So even with just a small bit of difference there with those handle design, it really does expand its flexibility and its use. They use the same mechanism, the dovetail system, to connect the gimbal itself to the handle. So that's still universally the same across both the Ronin and Ronin-M. So if you've invested in any universal plates from cine milled, all those things will still work. The next thing we'll look at is the rear design improvement. So in the old one, you had these little latches that you would rock forward and back, and it had the dimensions along the top here to pick a position for your pan balance. This one here, again, improvement is, let me just turn this off, is basically you loosen this latch and you can see the markings where you are, and just by turning this forward and back, you get a fore and aft adjustment, very similar to a Steadicam design, where you can get micro adjustment just by turning that. And so it's much easier to get that control. With the other one, whilst you had a similar sort of control, this one was just more accurate and more controlled. You didn't over skip the mark with this one. With the other one you could have, and you had to go back and just do that extra adjustment. But this is a much quicker, much easier way to do it. The next thing is the battery system. So the batteries are essentially the same battery, but there is a slight modification to the battery. And I'll just compare them. I'll take this one off and show you. You haven't got that latch module at the bottom here that you originally had on this one. So with the batteries, the biggest difference on the top, they almost look identical. But on the rear, you'll notice there's like almost a capping that's gone on top. And that capping has a little notch in here that basically engages or anchors the battery. And then this locks it in place. Where the previous one, you almost had a housing that grabbed the battery. So other than that, the batteries are the same, and you are able to use the original Ronin batteries onto this Ronin-M, and you're just really relying on the top screws to connect it and make it stable once it's on. This is getting the connections in here and giving power to the system, and you can lock that off and then you can turn it on, and you'll see that that will kick in and send power to the unit. So it does work. So people who are initially buying these units who haven't got access to the new batteries, they can still buy these batteries and use it. And for all intents and purposes, it provides the same result. So that's the battery system. I'll put this one back on. There you go. Some other minor refinements, but make a big deal to the system, is this yoke is now one piece. The previous unit was modular and allowed you to add extensions and even increase the size of cameras that you could put on the system. With this unit being focused more for the smaller payloads, they're trying to be as efficient as possible and as rigid as possible. So a one-piece design made more sense for that. And what it will do is increase the performance of the unit. As part of that, they've created this right angle connector here for the cable, just so there's less resistance on there and less interaction with this side to that side. So it just provides less resistance being a right angle. The other bit here that they've got is these little caps here, these screws, basically screw in this time. They're not sort of the clamps with the hex wrench tightened up. You're able to, we believe obviously down the track, you'll be able to put extensions in there and just give you cameras that are quite large, top heavy, can then be dropped down for the center of gravity. So this allows for some expandability in the future. A lot of the other units are still the same, sort of the base block at the bottom. The dovetail, whilst the top of it is essentially the same, the bottom piece is narrower, so it is a unique dovetail plate that you need to buy for this system. But other than that, it's essentially everything else in terms of the software, the same DJI Assistant software you'll use to balance it and calibrate it and do the auto tune. Everything else is essentially the same. So really targeting the run and gun operator, the self operator, doing documentaries, doing weddings. Absolutely, wedding guys definitely suits what they do. The stand also, this is the new stand, essentially same as the old one, but just again some more enhancements, just using this quick lock way of dropping this down, improvements in these lock offs. In the past we'd find people would unscrew those screws and not knowing, and all you had to do is sort of squeeze on them and to release this. But this is again improved in such a way that you can't make a mistake and lose those screws. So it seems to be just another stand that's just been further refined. One thing the unit doesn't come with is a case like the bigger Ronin does, but we believe that there's going to be an option that's going to come for that, so you'll be able to do that. But this thing's so light, really. Once you take the two handles off, you can put it in any sort of backpack. That's how small it is. Now the software, the remote, we'll go through the remote. Again, the remote that it uses is the new remote that are coming out with most of the new Phantom 3s and the Phantom 2, the latest version, which has this rocker mechanism. All the functions are still the same as before, so pretty much the same functions you can get with the old remote. Pan and tilt control are here, but you've also got the rechargeable lithium battery inside. So there's no real additional functionality other than just an improved remote system. The software, again, DJI Assistant software. One new feature that we found in here was let me just turn the unit back on to connect to it. All right, so let's go into the DJI Assistant software and have a look at some of the differences there. So most of it's pretty much the same. I mean, you'll be familiar with, I'll just reconnect that, you'll be familiar with things like going and seeing the motor settings, smooth track settings, some of the real-time values that you see what the exertion of the motors are that do assist you in understanding how well you've balanced it and how hard the motors are working. Some stiffness settings, all these other settings that are pretty much the same as it was on the Ronin. One new feature is this enable silent mode. And this is great, again, talking about the focus of the Ronin-Ms being for the single operator, run and gun, documentary, wedding. And for a lot of those guys, they'll probably have a microphone on the top handle or on the camera and be relying on that to acquire the sound. So with this mode, previously you would have had this humming sound. This is sort of the humming sound you can get. I don't know if you can hear it. But when you turn this on, that pretty much eliminates 99% of it out of the way. So the downside of that is optimal performance of the unit is reduced slightly, but if you have to make a compromise, then it's well worth it. So if you don't need to capture sound on the unit, obviously probably don't have that on. A little bit of a sound's not going to hurt. But if you do and you're run and gun and you need it, then obviously enable that, and that will give you some great results. So essentially everything else is the same. Yep, you'd be familiar with a lot of these functions, kill motor, and you can do that off the remote as well. So very familiar settings as it was with the Ronin. So just to summarize, the DJI Ronin-M is a great package for any single operators out there who do weddings, documentaries, or similar projects like that, where they need to be agile and be able to get a varied range of shots. These units can be put on jibs, car mounts, even the S1000 drones, they've made adapters for those. So you really can get a lot of bang for buck with the investment of such a system. These things, the Ronin-Ms, are about half the price of the Ronin. So if you don't see yourself needing to operate larger payload cameras like a C300 and above, then definitely this is a good choice. We've even got customers that already own the Ronin that have acquired the Ronin-Ms just because the lightness of it, and for projects they can basically have greater choice based on what project they're doing, what camera they're using, A7S, Canon 5D Mark III, those sort of things. This is a perfect companion for that. Whilst many of the accessories are interchangeable in terms of the universal mounts, the batteries, they can still use those things across both systems. So yeah, if you're interested, just to come and have a look or compare the two units, we keep both in the store. You can try them, bring your own camera in if you like, or we have cameras here as well, and make up your own mind how suitable these systems are for you. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.